Well, one of the things that Tilden talked about, but I've also discovered it myself, is that every place has its own identity. And that identity was created from the past. Now, before there were interpreters, there were people who were wise men. There were women who were sages. There were Shanaki who came. And what did they do? They were storytellers. And we are part storyteller. But we create something else, a magic that connects us to the totality of place. Today I'm wearing the clothing of what an iron worker would have looked like. And when I give tours, I like to take photographs along from the past. And then as the people look at me, they're experiencing the sense of place. And it gives it more of a visual stimulus. And a lot of people are stimulated by the visual. So Tilden discovered these principles. And now today we can build upon them. But a sense of place is very important to geographers. For what does place include? Architecture. It includes what? Culture. And what's a part of culture? Music, language, foodways, clothing. It's part of the totality. And people came from all over to work here at Cornwall Furnace. And they brought their own ethnicity with them. So sense of place is very important. For if you want to understand why they chose the name Cornwall, go back to the Grubbs who first found the iron here, and they named it after an English name, Cornwall. And it stuck, and Robert Coleman liked it. I want to thank you for continuing to follow me on our journey of finding Tilden. And we've been talking about this thing called a sense of place. I want you now to think about a place in your memory which is very precious to you. It's almost sacred in a way. It's a place that speaks to your heart and your soul. And it causes you, out of love, to find the passion that Tilden talked about. Now, let me give you an example. I have in my hand here a reproduction of a bugle that was used during the Civil War. And buglers were very important on the battlefield. In this hand, I can tell you about how this was made. I can tell you how it was distributed. And I can give you the basic information. In this hand, I take that basic information and now put it into a story that you will never forget. A couple years ago, I was traveling out to Yellowstone National Park. And I had a ranger friend out there said to me, "Are you going to be staying at the Old Faithful Inn?" And I said, "Yeah." "Well, we want you to bring your bugle along." And I said, "Well, why do you want me to bring a bugle?" "Don't ask questions, just bring it." Well, I don't know if you've ever been at the Old Faithful Lodge, but when I open the doors on that structure every time and walk in, I just am awed by the sense of place. I look up into the upper decks, and I almost see Teddy Roosevelt standing up there. Well, anyhow, I continued on to the visitor center desk and said, "I'm Rich Pauling. I was asked to bring this bugle." And then the ranger says to me, "Well, guess what you're going to get to do tonight?" "What?" "You are going to climb up the steps and then climb all the way up to the top of the Old Faithful Inn. For tonight, you, Rich, are going to play taps as we lower the flag. And you will be the first person ever honored to do this. Well, of course, I'm not a fan of high places, but I followed my orders, and up we went, crawling along the roof to get to the highest point. And there I'm standing, and there I'm looking around, and over here is Old Faithful, and out there are the bison, and over there is an elk, and I'm just awed with the physical splendor. And then finally, the moment came. I must admit my legs were shaking, and I didn't know if I could play one note. Well, I played taps. And as I started to play taps, all of a sudden, over there, Old Faithful starts to... Oh my. So I completed it, and then we came down. The next day I went on a tour of Old Faithful Inn, and the ranger was saying at the beginning, "I hope you all were here last night, for it was almost as if Gabriel was on the roof of the Old Faithful Inn playing taps." Well, my wife was standing right here, and I bumped her and said, "Gabriel." I have never been that close to the whole grandeur of the national park. And to think that in 1872, Yellowstone became the first. Now, I could tell you all that data about it being the first, but now I've added that information that makes it